Quilters Newsletter TV, the Quilters community, is brought to you by Handi Quilter, designed by a quilter for quilters. Robert Kaufman Fabrics, quality fabrics for quilting. Sulky, express yourself with Sulky and create with confidence. And The Warm Company, inspiring products for creative people.
Hi and welcome. I'm Lori Baker from Quilters Newsletter Magazine. With me today is Cheryl Duncan from Handi Quilter. Cheryl, welcome.
Thanks, Lori. It's nice to be here.
I am delighted you're here. Today we're going to be talking about free motion quilting. Cheryl, you were telling me that the thing that is hard for most people is the lack of confidence. So how would you work us through that?
It is. We have people that come to our HQ retreats that will have had their machine for 18 months to 2 years and never even taken it out of the box.
How sad.
It is. You've got this big machine, let's use it. They're afraid because it's a very intimidating machine, or it can be. So we get them started with just a basic stitch and get them used to the movement of the machine. Once they become comfortable with that, by the time they go home, they're ready to go home and start their pile of quilts.
Oh, good.
So we're going to just start with some samples here. And the first thing that I want to show you is the very first thing that a lot of people start out with is just a basic stipple or meander, some people will call it. One thing that really is helpful with a meandering stitch is if you think of an object size. If you want to do it really small, if you think of a pencil eraser, you want to do it a little larger, a dime, a nickel, a quarter, a golf ball, or even a tennis ball. If you want to keep your size consistent, the easiest thing to do is to make yourself a sample. So I have a sample here of some stippling. We start out with micro quilting with our stippling really, really tiny. We get a little bit larger, still even larger, a little bit bigger, and we can even go clear up to maybe a golf ball size. The thing that's really valuable about a sample like this is if you start stippling at the top of your quilt, by the time you get down to the bottom, you're in a hurry and you want to get it done. And so sometimes you tend to forget what size you were actually doing it. But if you've got your sample setting by the side of your machine, you can remember what size you were using.
Okay, yes.
So that's a really nice, easy tool to help you remember.
Right.
By having
because
a sample.
your quilt's rolled up so you don't see what you've done to begin with.
So you've got that reminder setting beside you all the time.
Okay.
Another thing that's really popular right now is circles, just as a background fill. Lots and lots of circles. These are a little bit more difficult than just a little simple meandering. But if you look at these, they can be in all different sizes, and it really fills in this background really nice. This next sample is lots of different fills on our background. Right here, we have some pebbling. We have some straight line stippling. We have just a random fill here. Here we have a shell or a peacock that you see a lot. Then of course we've got the beautiful ferns and the feathers here. There's all different kinds of fills that you can put on the backgrounds of your quilt.
This is wonderful.
Here's another one. Here's our circle over here. Here we've got just a little, almost just scribbling with it, and it looks just fine as a background fill. All these different backgrounds. Here's your swirls again. Here's some larger pebbling. And here's some more circles. So are you ready to try some different designs?
Absolutely.
Well, the first thing that we need to do is we need to practice. And one of the easiest ways to practice is to practice drawing. Because if you're drawing on paper, if you don't like what you did, you can wrinkle it up and throw it in the garbage. But if you practice on your machine, then you have to unpick your quilting.
Okay.
So let's draw.
Okay, let's do it.
All right. Okay, Lori, should we start with just a basic stipple design?
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay. Since we don't have very much room on our paper, let's make it kind of small. So we're just going to basically just try and think of a shape. Sometimes it reminds me of a puzzle piece, and I just want to draw. And the one thing that you want to be careful of when you're stippling is that you don't cross over your lines.
Because then the police will arrest you? The quilt police?
There are no quilt police,
good.
Lori. We took care of them.
Oh, good.
Their hats are at Handi Quilter. So you got that one down?
I think maybe.
I think you did really good. One that you can cross over if you want to is a straight line stipple. That's kind of a more modern look right now. So all we're going to do is draw straight lines any way you want to draw them. You're just going to fill in your area with random straight lines.
Oh, see, this is much harder. This is something I haven't done before.
You have to stop and think, too,
Yes.
of where you're going. And keep that area filled in. But I think with practice you could get it.
Oh, yeah.
One that's really simple and easy to use right now is loops. The one thing that you want to remember when you're using loops is that you want your loops to go every other direction, every other way each time you do a loop.
Okay.
That way it's not going to look like E's in a line. So we're just going to draw some loops and we're going to make them alternating directions.
Okay.
And that's a really easy pattern for people to get used to doing. That one was simple, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Okay, now how about if you just throw in a star with that loop?
Okay.
So we're just going to do our basic loop. And then we're just going to throw in an old-fashioned school star that the teachers used to put on your papers. And I'm sure you always got stars on all of your papers.
Right.
So just throw in a star. And that just adds another element to your quilting. Something simple that everyone can do, that you've done pretty much all of your life.
Okay, yeah.
Then if you wanted to, you could add a heart into that loop. You want to try and make them go in different directions so all of your hearts aren't going the same direction. So you have to get used to drawing hearts upside down sometimes.
Makes sense.
So then you just practice drawing your heart.
Oh, and I can see I could work myself into a corner this way, can't I?
Yes, you can. Sometimes you have to stop and think of which way you're going, and that one didn't work out very well, but if I was home, I would probably unpick it.
Yes.
And if you notice, you came out the bottom of the heart on your paper, and I came out the top of my heart, but it doesn't matter.
Right.
So see, it's really simple. And one of the first things that we teach people is that they do need to practice. And one of the best ways to practice is to just practice drawing. Whenever you're sitting and talking on the telephone or watching TV, just have that pad of paper with you, or even a whiteboard that you can erase, and just practice your drawing and just get it in your mind. Because one of the first things that we teach people that they can do is that they can sign their signature.
Right.
You know your signature.
Right.
Because it's ingrained in your brain and it's that muscle memory. So you can sign your signature. So if you practice these drawings, you can quilt also.
Right.
So now should we quilt these designs?
Sure,
Are
let's
you ready
give
to
it a
try
shot.
that? All right. We started with our meander stitch here. You notice I didn't cross over my lines, and we're just going to continue on. Now how about if we do the loops, just plain loops? Now what if I add in a star and maybe a heart too?
Okay. nice.
I think it's your turn to try loops, Lori.
Okay, I'm game. So I can tell I'm a beginner, but with lots of practice, I think I could be a good quilter.
I think you could too. I think your loops will look really well. So it doesn't have to be a real intricate design, just something simple, and it fills in a quilt really nicely. So I hope people have fun out there with it.
I do too. Thank you so much for being here, Cheryl.
You're welcome.
Quilters Newsletter TV, the Quilters community, is brought to you by Handi Quilter, designed by a quilter for quilters. Robert Kaufman Fabrics, quality fabrics for quilting. Sulky, express yourself with Sulky and create with confidence. And The Warm Company, inspiring products for creative people.